Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. All right, guys, today's date, Wednesday, March 19th, Federal Reserve date, and sure enough, just in the last 10-12 minutes, we've had the FOMC policy statement. They did adjust certain things, and the markets are not reacting very well. So again, markets taking a flush initially. Let's see exactly how they finish up over the next few candles. In about 15 minutes, we will be getting Janet Yellen, the head of the chair, she's the chairwoman of the Federal Reserve, will be giving a press conference. But right now, you can see markets did absolutely nothing all day. Then a huge volume sell candle here. That's a wide range bar if I've ever seen one, down to the downside, basically from the highs here of the day all the way to essentially the lows of the day. That's a dollar move on the SPY in one candle. Now, since then, we are seeing a little bit of a bounce back in the markets. I'd be curious to see if the markets flush into the 200 moving average here. And it's going to be very interesting to see the reaction when Janet Yellen does come on the mic on the press conference, because I'm curious if the markets are going to rally off of it or are they going to sell off of it. Right now, dollar yen is ripping to the upside as well, which is very unusual. Usually you have the market heading lower when the dollar yen goes lower, not the inverse. So again, a little bit of a disconnect developing here that we need to pay attention to as well. And again, let me bring up the dollar yen chart, guys. Unbelievable move here on the dollar yen. Look at that spike to the upside. All right, couple other things. We have to look at the dollar. Take a look at just the dollar itself. Major spike to the upside on the dollar. Huge move there. And if we take a look at gold here, guys. Down $2.30 on the GLD. Absolutely walloped. All right, if we look at oil, take a look at oil. Oil's flat on the day, no real effect there. JJC had a great reversal earlier, starting to come back in. Commodities are in motion today. SLV silver, take a look. Nice flush on silver. Silver hit my short-term target from the daily chart earlier today. If I bring up the daily chart on silver, look at this. Pivot top. And then you have a gap fill right there, 50 MA, and bam, right into that level it went. And sure enough, you're getting a little... I actually like this level on silver down here. I'm not in the trade myself, but I actually do like that quite a bit. All right, going back to the SPY, guys, just a wild trading session, but markets are bouncing back a little bit off their lows, and this is going to be interesting to see. Can we move back up? Can this market be a buy-the-dip mentality and rally itself all the way back to the flat line or the green side, or are we going to see some more selling and a move down in the markets? Very rare that Janet Yellen comes out and talks and the markets sell, as we've seen over the past couple months. But there's a first time for everything, and let's see where we end today. This is still the initial reaction, only 15 minutes past the comments that came out from the FOMC, and 15 minutes to go till her press conference. And right now, again, the markets are reacting to the negative side, down 46 cents. By no means is it a big sell-off yet, but in the short term, it's a big candle. All right, if we looked at the end of the day and I say, oh, the Dow was down 57 points, which is what it's down now, no big deal, right? 57 points. All right, well, the last 2 days, Dow was up 250 points. But you want to see where this ends. Do we end at the lows of the day? Do we continue to sell off? These are factors that will play into it. All right, on the radio yesterday and this morning, I came out and I said, listen, I'm expecting, based on the markets and based on the charts, for a sell-off on the comments. Why? Let me just talk a little bit about why. I think it's very important to understand the whys. This is very simple, guys. See the move down from last Thursday. Remember that big sell day we had last Thursday, which had a little minor follow-through on Friday? And again, ultimately, the S&P confirmed. So look at the high there and the move down. Notice how yesterday and today you never took out that high. To me, and I said this on the radio and I said it to my members, there is no signal yet that you've negated that down move. Now, it's not a very pretty pattern, but nonetheless, you haven't negated it. Therefore, there's still opportunity to fall, and that's what we're seeing initially here. Now, again, I've seen the markets do some crazy things on Fed Day. They could reverse back up all the way, and that's what we're starting to do here, move back up. Not all the way, but about 50% retrace on the initial down candle there from the lows back up. And again, I think the markets could bounce into her comments because they're going to be looking for her to kind of soothe the market and come out and say everything's going to be all right. And that's going to be very interesting to kind of note here. So we will be watching that extremely closely. in the coming, 10, 15 minutes as she gets ready to go on the mic and starts talking. All right, in any case, good sell-off so far. Markets again came down arbitrarily. You can see, I guess nothing's arbitrary because if you take this pivot, look at this high pivot right here and just draw it across, there's your exact low. The next spot would be your 200 MA, and just below that is a gap fill right down here. Okay, so you want to follow that. You also have a little bit of a level right here as well. So these are just some new levels I want you guys to be aware of in the afternoon session now as the markets continue to trade, and I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of follow them through. And again, markets are now pulling back a little bit. So this is going to be big. I really think this candle, after the first red one, this one's a very big telltale because if you reverse it in a major way, you'll coax buyers in. If this comes back down and starts kind of closing with a little tail on top, closing near the lows or even lower, then I think the sellers come out in full force and continue to sell this market. So let's watch closely into the end of this candle. This is what I love, folks. I love this price action because it's whippiness. It gives us opportunity to day trade, and ultimately it can make us quite a bit of money. As long as you know the levels. All right, that's what it comes down to, knowing the levels. Take a look at some charts out there. Take a look at JPM. Interesting with JPM is it's surging up here in the short term, and JPM is again pushing up, and that's actually interesting to see the markets having sold, but JPM leading the charts to the upside. Goldman Sachs is also green. Interestingly enough, these stocks were the laggards in the previous couple rally days. So the financials are catching a little bit of a bid. Let's see if it's enough to take the market up. Spiders are kind of flip-flopping around this initial bounce area here off of the initial move, so nothing really off of those financials just yet. But honestly, seeing the financials reverse like that is a strong showing thus far. I mean, that's a big sector in the markets and a very big sector in terms of watching to see what it's doing. Some stocks selling off today. Adobe down $1. This is at a big bounce, but look at this perfect shorting level right here. If you're a day trader, this is a day trader's best dream ever. I mean, look at the bounce. So the stock was down over $2. It bounced back down to $1, right into a necktie, and then look at this little pullback. A short right there is just a perfect setup off an extended move like that. And again, especially as the markets come into a sell there. So nice little scalp opportunity there. Looking at some other stocks, Yahoo is down about 40 cents after a nice push up the last few days. That stock is starting to fall. You do have a bearish pattern here on Yahoo going sideways off of this down move. Be interesting to see if it starts to collapse a little bit later. Google is down about $6 on the day. Honestly, not that much of a drop on Google. That's a very, very minor drop. By the way, markets are bouncing more back here. Let's take a look. Let's go back to the market. So a nice little green candle. This could coax in some buyers in the next candle, at least initially. And then we'll watch again to see kind of how things trade out. But really quite interesting so far on the charts here. All right, let me just go back to a couple other stocks out there. Apple today. Take a look at Apple. Apple is holding up. And again, markets are down, but Apple is up. And remember, Apple is stronger in a weak market, weaker in a strong market. All right, I think I heard today that their dividend payout is the second biggest now in the market. All right, in the big players. I think in the S&P 500 maybe that was what it was saying. And that's actually a good showing. I mean, think about that. This is like an old school stock now. Good dividend payer. It's not going to blow you out with huge gains to the upside, and it's not going to rip you to the downside. And that's why in good markets it performs poorly, or at least more poorly than the overall market. But in bad markets like we're seeing today, it's the market's sold off and Apple's actually hanging in there pretty well. So good showing there. It's continuing to show us the light in terms of what it is now. Chevron. Let's take a look at Chevron. Chevron's down 50 cents. Good flush on Chevron. A shame it didn't get right into the 200, but please note how you went really right into this level, or just about. You have this pivot high right here. That's actually the level right there. Look at that. So beautiful little pivot high, and price went right there. Usually on a flush like that, you'll get a pierce to the 200 and maybe even gap fill in this situation, but you didn't actually get that here. That's the nature of the beast. On a Fed decision, the markets are just going to get so whippy and out of control that you just have to kind of roll with the punches in that respect. Markets continuing to see a little bit of a bounce today. Boeing is under pressure, although bouncing off its lows, down 40 cents. Fedex reported earnings this morning. This stock initially was down a couple dollars, then it was up a couple dollars, and now it's basically down slightly on the day. What a wild ride on FedEx off of earnings. Basically, their earnings were not that great, but they blamed it on the weather. And again, if you think about it, I mean, of all companies, I can see FedEx actually getting affected by the weather quite a bit, and that's, I think, what happened. Let's go back to the spiders and see what happened here. Markets are kind of struggling here. You got a basic 50, it looks like a 0.618 almost retrace of this initial move down. And now the market's again running into a little bit of resistance here. Let's see if we start to trade back down. What I want you guys to do is watch now. If we come down and you take out the low here, that's going to be a bearish sign going forward for the next day or so. All right, if you don't take that out and you kind of hold here and maybe float up a little bit, that's bullish for the next couple days. So really watch to see how this plays out. To me, it's fascinating. This price action is unbelievably fun to watch, as I said earlier, and we'll be watching very closely here into the comments that will begin in about 8 minutes now. 8 minutes till these comments, folks. Facebook today under some pressure, down about $1. Facebook's a toasted pig, in my opinion. All right, the daily chart is so ridiculously bearish. This is one of the best charts out there I see. Take a look at this daily chart. Down move, bearish consolidation below the 20 MA. Needs a little bit more time to cook, but then it's going right to the 50. And I actually think it's going to go all the way down here and then eventually down here. This is my ultimate target on Facebook. These two lower lines, target 1, target 2. So interesting to see there. Another good stock with a great bearish pattern. Look at this. Look at this WDC Western Digital. Bearish pattern into 2 moving averages. And this should again collapse. First general target's going to be right in this area here. So this pivot low, these pivot highs right there. And then second one actually should be all the way down in this 200-ish area. I'm seeing a good level right there. That's actually a perfect level at the 200. So those are your 2 levels there. If it gets above the 2 moving averages and confirms, then short term you have a reversal in pattern, and it could trade as high as the double top here. But there's minimal upside, as you guys can see. I mean, that's your upside resistance, and you can stop out on any confirmation above. But nice little trade set up there. Markets, again, are just kind of sitting still now. It's interesting. Markets are all of a sudden dying out just a little bit as we wait for the comments to begin, which makes sense. I mean, that's what the market's now looking forward to. You can see we're just kind of hovering in this upper range, going back and forth on the charts. Visa, let's take a look at Visa, down $1.46, not too shabby. I did take profits. Yesterday I took profits on my USO trade. We took that was a quick fire trade. Quick fire trades, you're like in for a day or two and then you're out. So we took a 1% gain yesterday on the USO. Today I took a 1.5% gain on JJC, which is copper. Look at this move up on copper we caught, and just a beautiful one here. And if you go to your daily chart, very nice reversal there. Actually, it probably put in a short-term low based on this reversal, but I didn't want to stick around. It was a quick fire trade, in and out. I took about 1.5% there. So listen, as a Research Center member, Nick and myself, who's my business partner and chief market strategist as well, we're just continually looking for setups. And some will be quick fire trades, you're in and you're out for a couple of percentage points. Some will be bigger trades where you're in and you're out for 5-10%. And that's what we look to do, just consistently bang out profits, and that's what we've been doing here all year long. So another nice profit today. Nothing to write home about, but I'm still leaving other plays on the table to pay us off. Like, for instance, I'm short Facebook from all the way at these highs above 70. So I'm already in the money, $2+ on Facebook. I'm in the money on other stocks as well, and those we're going to let run for bigger moves. But in the short term, you have to be able to be in and be out on the other plays for smaller percentage gains. And so kind of being a versatile trader. You want to be a trader who's in and out short term, has a little bit of a longer term portfolio where you're in and out within a week or two, and that's long term for us here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. And you're just banging 5-10% out left and right kind of thing. All right, what else do we have here going on? Let me just scan through. On the charts, how's DuPont doing today? DD, down 40 cents. This is actually a little bit of a bearish pattern here, but it's above the 20, so it's not nearly as bearish as some of the other ones I showed you today, but nonetheless, it is still technically a bearish pattern. Spiders, let's go back to the spiders, guys. Take a look at this. So markets have started to bounce back almost to the flat line ahead of Janet Yellen. Remember what I said just a little while ago. If they close this candle up, you get repeat buyers to come on board and push it up, and sure enough, they pushed it up almost to the flat line, now pulling it back just a little bit. But I want you guys to understand that mentality of how I made that call and why I made that call and how it was correct. All right, because the buyers came here, and the buy the dip mentality is so ingrained in this market that buyers are going to follow on and buy afterwards, which is why it went up here. Now it's starting to sell off after it hit resistance at the 20 MA and the gap fill or the flat line. And now you're starting to come back in. But please understand why you shot up after you closed where you did, as I said you would. All right, that type of mentality, if you can understand the psychology of the markets, you will make millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in your trading career and your investing career. Just that simple. All right, guys, I got to get going. Got to get back to trading myself, but really fun action here. Come join us at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Get trade alerts, entry, exit points. We give it to you all. Learn the proprietary analysis as we teach it to you, and just profit for life, essentially. Janet Yellen will be on in about 4 minutes. I'm going to listen in and make some money off of it. Take care.